So today we're going to talk about 11.1 and 11.2. 11.1 is over mean, median, mode, and range. 11.2 is over box and whisker plot. So first, let's look at the key vocab for 11.1. We have mean, median, mode, and range. So most of these, if not all of these, you should have heard before. Mean is the average of a set of data found by adding all the numbers and dividing by the number of entries. So you just add up all the numbers in that data set and then divide by however many numbers there are. That's how you find average. Median is the middle number of data when placed in order from least to greatest. So you have to order the data in least to greatest and then find the middle number. Mode is the number that appears most often. Mode, most, that's how I remember mode. So you're looking for the number that appears the most in that. And then range is just the difference. Remember, difference is subtraction between the highest and lowest value of the data set. So you just take the highest and lowest value and subtract them to get the range. A couple important notes for mean, median, mode, and range. This is actually for median and mode. It says when it comes to median, when finding the middle number, if there are two middle numbers, then to find the median, you must find the average of the two numbers, add them together, and divide by 2. So the times that there will be two middle numbers is when you have an even set of numbers in the data set. So if you ever have an even number of numbers, that's whenever you might have to do this. You'll have two middle numbers, you add them together and divide by 2 to get the median. When it comes to mode, there can be one mode, multiple modes, or no mode depending on the data set. So you have to understand that there might not only be one mode for every set of data. It can vary depending on the data set. All right, let's look at an example. It says use the data of the 14 students' test results, find the mean, median, mode, and range of the data set. So mean, median, mode, and range. Okay, so mean, remember, is average. So all you're going to do is add those 14 numbers together, and then the number you divide by would be 14, because that is the number of entries. So luckily, you can do that with a calculator. So you'll just go through and add all of them together first. So I'll do this with you. It would be 77 plus 67 plus 91 plus 63 plus 81 plus 89 plus 100 plus 73 plus 67 plus 85 plus 89 plus 89 again plus 95 plus 83. Okay, so when you add all those up, you'll get 1,149. But you have to divide that number by the number of entries, which is 14. So I take that and divide it by 14, and I get like 82.071, like a long decimal. So we'll just round that to the nearest whole number, and that would be 82. So that means my mean, my average score, would be 82%, or 82 for this data set. So that's my mean. Median is where you find the middle number. So this one, you're going to have to rearrange the numbers and go from least to greatest. So we're going to have to rearrange these numbers. So I'm going to start, and I'll just mark them out as we go. You try and find the smallest number, which would be 63. Then we have the next number, which would be 67. There's actually two 67s, so we have to list that twice. Next, we have 73, then 77. Okay. Next, it looks like we have 81, then 83. Next will be 85 right here. Then 89, which is, we have three of those, so 3 89s. So I'll go down at the bottom, 89, 89, 89. Next would be 91, then 95, then 100. Okay, so then I'm going to count these, make sure I have 14 numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, so I've got all my numbers, ordered from least to greatest. So what you want to do is whenever I do median, I just mark off one on each end as I go. So I mark off one here, and it'll get me eventually to the middle number. 1, 1, and then I keep doing that pattern until I get to the middle number. So this is an example of what I talked about. So remember, if you have an even number of entries, which we do here, 14, you're going to have two middle numbers. So we ended up with two middle numbers, 83 and 85. So remember, to find the median of two middle numbers, you add those together. So I'll do 83 plus 85. That'll give me 168. And then you divide by 2. And that would give me 84. So my median would be 84. That's my middle number. Most often, okay, so mode is most often. And if you look at our numbers here, you can look at either set, but if we look at our numbers, we have 67 twice, we have 89 3 times, and that's it. So it looks like the most often, or most mode in this case, would be 89 because it appears the most. So 89 would be our mode. And then lastly, range, remember, is taking your biggest number, or highest value, subtracting your lowest value. So our highest value is 100. Lowest value is 63, so when I subtract that, I should get 37. So my range for that should be 37. So you have to be able to find the 4 different data sets here of mean, median, mode, and range, and that is the example of how you go through finding each of those. Like I said, I think you should have been introduced to that before, so hopefully that was more of a review for you. Because we're going to use those things, or those kind of, you'll have to know those ideas, but you also need to use those ideas for what's called a box and whisker plot. So that's now we're getting into 11.2, which is over a box and whisker plot. So it says a box and whisker plot is a special type of diagram showing quartiles 1, 2, and 3, where the data can be split into quarters in a box with lines extending to the lowest and highest values. And I'll show you what those are, what that means and what those look like. Interquartile range is something you can also find in a box and whisker plot, which will show you what that looks like. It's the difference between quartile 3 and quartile 1. So Q3 minus Q1 is how we'll find the interquartile range. So now we have some important notes as well with box and whisker plots. So it says there are 5 main parts of a set of data you must know and find to create a box and whisker plot. It's the lowest score, the first quartile score, the median score, the third quartile score, and the highest score. Those will be the 5 main points of a box and whisker plot. It says to find the first quartile score, you list the data from least to greatest, split the data in halves, then find the median of the first half of data. Third quartile score is found by finding the median of the second half of data. So box and whisker plots, you're finding median. That's what you're mainly using, is median for the first quartile, the median score, and the third quartile. So that median is the main one that we are focused on with this. So let's look at an example here. This is actually a stem and leaf plot, which is something also you should have covered before. So I want to make sure we know how to read. It says the stem and leaf plot below show ages and months of 11 ninth graders. Use the data set to create a box and whisker plot. Also find the interquartile range of the data. So a lot going on here. So with a stem and leaf plot, the way you read this is, these are the first 2 digits of the number, and then these are the last digits of 3 separate numbers. So what that means is, the first number in this stem and leaf plot is 184, just 18 and then the 4 with it. The next one was 183. Next one, 181. and so on. So then we go to 175, 175, 172, 173, 174, then 168, 166, 167, and 168. So those are our data sets, or our numbers in this data set, of ages and months of 11 different ninth graders. So first of all, with median, you know you need at least to greatest. I mean, greatest to least works as well. So this actually isn't arranged completely correct. So I'm going to rearrange a few of these to make sure that it is in least to greatest order. So this, let me change the 172 and 174 spot. That'll help those. And then this 166 and 168 can change as well. So now all my numbers should be in greatest to least. And like I said, here, let me actually just rewrite these in actual least to greatest so it's easier to read. So 166, 167, 168, 168, 172, 173, 174, 175, 181, 183, and 184. Okay, so that is my data from least to greatest. So with an interquartile range, the way this works is there's going to be a number line below, basically spanning those numbers. So I'm just going to go from, to give it some room, 160 to 190. So I'll go by 5s to make it easiest. So 160, 165, 170, 175, 180, 185, and 190. Okay, so that is my range for this, or the number line I'm drawing for this box and whisker plot. So I'll show you what a box and whisker plot actually looks like as I draw this on here. So first, my first 2 points that I can go ahead and make right away are my highest point and my lowest point. So my lowest point is 166. So I'm just going to write that above. You're going to make this box and whisker above the number line. So 166 is about right there. And 184 is my highest value, which is about right there. Okay, so from there, then I need to find the median. So the median, and I'm just going to put a check so I don't have to mark through them because I'm going to have to use these numbers again. So I mark that off, that off, that off, that off, that off, that off, that, that. So this one actually is an odd set of numbers, so that means there will be just one middle number. So here's my median. Overall median is 173. So 173, when I plot it, would be about right there. Okay, so then from there, pretty much you can use the checks, the separate checks. If it's an odd number like this, you just take that overall median out, and then to find the first quartile and the third quartile, you're going to take these numbers here, the numbers in front of the median, and find it. So let's go ahead and separate those. 166, 167, 168, 168, and 172. So this is my Q1. These are the numbers I'll use for Q1. For Q2 or Q3, I'll use these next bottom numbers. So 174, 175, 181, 183, 184. Okay, so when I use these, I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm finding median. So I can mark this off, one at the front, one on the back, until I get to my middle number. So my Q1 here is 168. So, I plotted the, oh no, that's correct. Okay. 168. So 168 is my Q1. So I go over and 168 would be about right there. So that's my Q1 dot. And then my Q3 dot would be 1, 1, 1, 1. And this is my middle number there, 181. So I go to 181, which is about right here, and make a point. Okay, so here's where the actual box and whisker and its name comes from. To make the box and whisker, you have to put a box, so you're going to make a box around the Q1 to the Q3. So what that looks like is that, and you draw one line through the median. So that's what it starts with. You draw a box around, connecting, one end will be on the Q1, one end will be on the Q3. And then, that's the box, and then the whisker part is you connect the Q1 to the lowest value and the Q3 to the highest value. So that is your box and whisker plot. So that is your final box and whisker plot for that. So that's your answer for that. Then it says to find the interquartile range. So remember, interquartile range takes the Q3, so interquartile range takes the Q3 minus the Q1. So in this case, our Q3 was 181, minus our Q1 is 168. So when I subtract those, I will get 13. So my interquartile range would be 13. So there's my box and whisker plot, there's my interquartile range. So that is how you separate the two and understand the difference in the two. So I know that was a long example, but as long as you can keep your data organized, that should not be too much of an issue for you, hopefully. So one other thing they might ask you to do is compare. So you can try this one on your own. It's using the same idea. I'm going to have you try this one on your own, and I'm going to go on to one more thing because I'm running out of time. So I want you to try this using that same example. If you get confused, go back to the example I just did and try and understand. Remember, median, you need to list these from least to greatest, and then you're going to find your highest value, your lowest value, your overall median, and then your Q1 and Q2 after that. Okay, so next. Sometimes they'll also ask you to compare box and whisker plots. So, I've seen state test questions like this. It says sometimes you'll need to use a box and whisker plot to compare two sets of data to one another. To do this, you may be asked to create more than one box and whisker plot on the same number line. Okay, so let's look at how that might look. It says researchers were wanting to compare students' averages from the last semester from their mathematics class and their history class. Create a box and whisker plot comparing the two data sets. Okay, so here is our math scores, and then here are our history scores. So again, first thing you want to do is order from least to greatest for each. So I'll do my math here. So it looks like my lowest one was 60, then 62, so 60, 62, 64. 60, 62, 64. Sorry if I feel like I'm rushing, I'm just trying to get through this example for you. Then we go 71, 73, 79, 71, 73, 79, and then 81, 81, 83, 85, 90. Okay, so that should take out the rest of those. Okay. So then we go to history. Our history scores. Lowest score is 57. Then 67. Then 75. Then 76. So 75, 76. Okay, next would be 85, there's a 78, then 85, 88, 88, 90, 90. Okay, so that should finish that off. So there's our scores for each one. So obviously I'm going to just make this this number line from 55 to 90. So 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, 85, 90. Okay, so we'll start with the math. I'm going to make the math orange. Okay, so I'll make the math orange. I'll make it above. So here, my lowest is 60. So I make again, you make a point at 60 and a point at your highest, which is 90. Then we find our overall median. So overall median, I mark on each side until I get to the middle. So here we have two middles, 73 and 79. So I add those together and divide by 2. That'll give me 76. So my overall median is 76, which would be about right there. Okay, so if we have an even number, like we do here, I'm just going to split the data right there. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on this side and 5 on the other side. So my Q1 and my Q3. So Q1, when I mark these out, should be 64. So 64, it's right there. Then I go to the next one. When I mark these out, my Q3 should be 83, which is right there. Okay, so when I make this box and whiskers plot, it's like that. So that's my first one. So then let's quickly do the second one, which I'll just do in green. So I start by marking out to find my median. Oh, well actually first I can plot my lowest and highest. So my lowest is 57, which is about right there. And my highest is 90, which is there. Okay, so then I start marking out. I see 78 and 85. Okay, 78 and 85. Again, two numbers. I add them together, divide by 2, and I'll get 81.5. So my overall median is 81.5, which, if I plot, will be about right there. Okay, so then I break it up. Right here, this is my Q1, this is my Q3. So I mark out until I get to a middle. So my Q1 would be 75. So there's my Q1. And then my Q3 is 88, which is about right there. So then I make the box and whiskers for that. So there's your comparing of the data. So you can see very easily that the green or the history had the lowest score, but overall the whole median is shifted to the right, meaning that overall the scores in the history class were better than the scores in the math class. Okay, so that's what this box shows you. It's showing how far over this is. So I know that was rushed a little bit. That's the bell for my next class to come in. Hopefully that you can rewatch that and understand it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. But thank you for watching.